Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's SDCC exclusive 4-pack of Shredder, 2-foot guys, and Splinter, which we'll maybe see individual releases later on, but for now, this is what you get. And a lot of people were very excited about this, myself included. It'd be very nice to add these guys to the TMNT set, and now we get to. Is it any good though? NECA doesn't usually disappoint. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Stick around to find out. No, we're not going to do that. It's a pretty good set. It's a really solid set with some issues, so we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, this is a 4-pack. We're going to review all the figures all at once in one video, get it all done in one go. We don't need the extra views from separate videos. This will do just fine. We're going to start with the foot, because it's going to be seen 3 times in this pack. This guy stands just shy of 18 centimeters, which makes it just about 7 inches. And like I said, we have 2 foot soldiers, they're the same figure. And then Shredder is also essentially the same, so we're not going to need to go over his articulation separately. So this guy's going to cover most of it. Now aesthetics, it looks just like the big one, only smaller. This one does seem to have a little bit heavier blue shading on it. This one does not seem to have that, so it appears to me that it's going to be kind of just a crapshoot as far as how yours turns out. We do still have the black spandex belt. People told me that it was accurate to the movie, but I looked again and I still cannot find 2 separate color belts for the foot guys. So I don't know what's going on there. Whatever, you can take it off if you want, or you can leave it on, so it doesn't really matter. Same detailing as on the big ones, just smaller, nice paint, nice sculpt everywhere. Well shaded, everything's pretty good to go here. Faces look nice, headbands look nice. All in all, very aesthetically pleasing. So aesthetics, this guy gets a 9 out of 10, I guess. 9 out of 10 is pretty good. We're going to go ahead and just do all of the accessories in one go right now, because a lot of them are kind of interchangeable. So we have on each foot soldier 2 fist hands, and then we only get 1 set of open hands and 1 set of gripping hands. I hate that. We should have a set for each guy. We shouldn't have to interchange them that way. That really bothers me. For Shredder, we have the 2 gripping hands, we have 2 fist hands, and we have the 2 style pose hands. For Splinter, we have his chains, which can go up on his arms, though there's no place to hang him other than in the cardboard backing in the package, so I don't know if you're going to really want to do that, but you do have the option. We do get a little cardboard box you can put him on if you want to do that as well. We have an alternate bandana tail for one of the foot guys. I don't really know why we have that, but we do. We have 1 nunchuck with a chain, we have 1 nunchuck with a bendy wire, we have 2 sais, we have 1 bow, we have 1 nightstick or billy club, whatever you want to call it, we have 1 super toothpick, we have 1 katana, and 1 axe. And most of those can be arranged nicely on this weapons rack, which is a pretty cool accessory. Can't quite hold everything, but it can hold them. Shredder does also get his little knife, which has a sheath for it, and if you want to, you can count Shredder's cape as an accessory. So it is a lot of accessories, don't get me wrong, but excluding 2 sets of foot soldier hands really bothers me. That is, as far as I'm concerned, inexcusable. That really sucks. This set is not cheap in the first place, and I don't think it's overpriced, but I don't think it's right of them to not include the appropriate amount of hands for each figure. Basically, they have to be mirrored options of each other. You can't have them both be right-handed holding weapons. I think that really sucks. So accessory-wise, typically speaking, this would be like a 10 out of 10. It's a lot of accessories, but they totally shafted us on those hands. So I'm going to knock it down to a 7. That's not okay. It would not have cost them almost anything to do that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Okay, so on to the articulation for the foot guy, which will be true for him, the other foot obviously, and for Shredder. We have a ball peg at the top and a ball peg at the bottom of the neck. The head might actually be a double on top of the neck, but either way, you get exceptional range. I've told you guys so many times, double ball pegged necks are really good, and even single ones can be really good, but it's such a good design. You get such good range out of it. Very nicely done. The bandanas do rotate. That's cool. Shoulders are swivel hinges. You can get them up not quite horizontal. You can rotate them around. This piece is fairly flexible, but it's not enough to bring the arms all the way up. So definitely limited there. We do have a swivel at the top and bottom of the double jointed elbow. You get better than 90 degrees on the bend, and it will rotate. That's your bicep swivel right there. The gauntlet piece is a separate piece which will rotate around on its own. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. There is no diaphragm joint, we just get one ball peg at the waist, which is pretty minimal. You get some range out of it, but not a lot. You do get your rotation there. This belt does not rotate. For the hips, you can go all the way out to the side, full on splits. That's pretty good. Bringing the legs forward, you're gonna have to stretch the crotch piece out a little bit, but you can get them up just about horizontal. They do go back pretty far as well, and you have a thigh swivel in there. They are slightly loose. They don't seem to catch each other, but they are slightly loose. We have a swivel hinge for the top joint of the knee. Can't get the second joint to work. Wow, that is a tight joint. There we go. So the knees do have pretty good functionality. This one's a swivel at the top, but it doesn't really go anywhere, so it's just essentially a double jointed knee. And then for the ankle, there's no rotation up here, but you do go all the way back, not very far forward, and you have some rotation in there. So it's not the best set of articulation in the world, but it'll get the job done, and they definitely leaned a little bit more into the aesthetic than the articulation, and so that's fine. I mean, that's what they chose to do, so that's okay. So articulation, I'll give it a 7. It's not impressive, but it does look good, so that's fine. So final verdict on the foot soldier, I'll give him a 7 out of 10 all the way around. Well, you know what? I'll give him an 8. The aesthetic is very nice. The articulation is limited, and the accessories are almost great, but then also we got shafted. So overall, 8 out of 10 for the foot soldiers. Let's go ahead and talk about Shredder. Everything is the same as far as articulation goes. We're not gonna go through that again, but we can talk about the aesthetics. The cape looks exactly like the big cape, only smaller, which is fantastic. I had some concern that they weren't going to be able to do it, and they did it. It is not an exaggeration to say exactly like the big one. So the scaling is definitely not as accurate, but it is okay. And it does have a bendy wire in it to help it lay nicely, so that's pretty cool. However, the white stiff stuff in here that they use to kind of make it sit properly on the big one, maybe a little bit too cumbersome for the little one. Not that they could do anything about it, but this is a review. So it's a little bit more finicky and troublesome to pose and make look good, but the cape itself is still impressive. It has a less impressive clasp at the top than the big version, but it does still have a clasp and it can be removed, so that's pretty cool. They did a really good job with the red again. It has that kind of purple dry brushing and the gold sparkles. Very nicely done. The paint job for the gauntlets and the boots and everything, very nicely done. We're going to get to his face. I know you guys are wondering, is the face the same? No, it's not. Here's the thing though, the helmet on mine has an issue, and they aren't able to replace it as of yet, so that's a problem. Mine has these 2 big marks on it, and that really blows. But otherwise, it's very shiny. I like that. It's also very warped from the packaging, and I've heard other people say that theirs was even worse, and that they couldn't fix it with a hairdryer or hot water. I haven't tried because mine's not really that bad, but apparently that's something to be concerned about, that it's a fairly common issue, so be careful about that. Now, as far as the face goes, the face mask looks very nice, just like it's supposed to. As far as the actual face itself, it is obviously a different sculpt than the big version. Can I get the mask off, please? And it's better. It's not really accurate. It's still not accurate, but it doesn't look like an old guy this time. Not anywhere near as much. It's a much nicer looking head sculpt. I like it. It's still not accurate, I want to be clear, but it does look a lot better, and his eyes aren't looking straight up again. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty good. It is worth mentioning that it's not noticeable on his face, but for his hands, his skin tone is all kinds of screwed up. He has a very pink skin with like a grayish tan wash on them, and it looks terrible. I don't know what's going on there. It's very strange. But that's only on the hands, and the rest of the figure looks really good. He still also has the black spandex waistband. I'm going to give this figure, aesthetics-wise, a 9 out of 10. It is really good. Couple issues we need to tweak here and there, but all in all, very, very well done. Accessory-wise, I already counted the accessories. I'm not going to do that again. I don't need to complain about it anymore. And then finally for the articulation, you already saw it's the same as the foot soldier. Okay, moving on to the main event, the thing nobody has seen outside of this pack. We don't have a big version of it. This is the first time we get a movie Splinter figure that isn't from the 90s. And it looks really good. Aesthetically speaking, they did a really good job. The only thing that stands out to me as being questionable is this. I'm not sure this was a great material choice. I think maybe something like this material just in black would have been a better call, because this looks a lot like he's just got wrapped up like a gift. He is supposed to have a black belt, but this one is just, I don't think the material is a good call. It's way too stiff. It doesn't hang naturally at all at this scale, and it stands out as being very clean and pristine up against all of the dirty ragtag looking other parts. So I don't love this, but otherwise the aesthetics are very nice. It looks just like him. Cloth is well handled. I'm pleased. So aesthetics, 9 out of 10. Very, very nicely done. His accessories, well, we already saw the chains in the box. We don't have to talk about that anymore. As for his articulation, I'm guessing most people aren't going to display him all tied up. They're going to have him actually on display as an action figure on his own right, so this is kind of important. The head is on a ball peg. It has minimal range on the top of the neck. It does pose some, but not a lot. And then the neck itself appears to be also on a ball peg. You can see the separation from the torso underneath the fur. Doesn't feel like any hinging or anything, just another ball peg. So with those two put together, you get enough range. Either one individually feels like it's not enough, but since you do get both, that's good. For the shoulders, it's your standard ball hinge shoulder. It's a little difficult to pose with the clothing, but it does work. It's a little stiff. I think it's actually just a swivel hinge, and then you get your rotation down here out of the elbow. That's what it feels like. I can't tell if it's a single or a double elbow, but you do get good range. And I don't want to take the clothing off because I don't want to risk messing it up. And it doesn't really matter. It only matters if it's functional. As for the wrist, we just have a swivel and a hinge, except they put the hinge on the wrist instead of on the hand. That's the wrong way to do it, because then you put the hand like this and then rotate it, and that doesn't make sense. You want the swivel on the hand, or you want the hinge on the hand and the swivel on the other end of that. So that kind of sucks, but you do have that articulation. As for the torso, we do have two different ball peg torso joints, one up here, one down here. Not a ton of range, but again, using them all together, they work well enough. For the hips, we have our standard hinged hips, so he can go all the way out to the side basically. Going forward is a lot more restricted due to his fur on the front. They don't go back at all. You do get a little tiny thigh swivel. For the knee, we have a swivel hinge. Swivels at the top, and then we have a hinge. You can't really ever straighten the legs out. I don't know how much of a deal that is, but it's worth noting. You can't really straighten them out. And then for the ankle, you have a hinge and a rotation. That's the wrong way to do that. That swivel should be on the other end of the hinge so that you can angle the foot. Rotating it like this it's absolutely worthless. That was poorly conceived. You do get an ankle hinge or a toe hinge. It's not really, it's like a metatarsal hinge. I don't know why that's there, but it's there. So yeah, you can pose him, though you're not going to get a lot of work done with his ankles. All in all, you're not going to get a lot of work done with this guy in general, though it's Splinter, so you probably don't have to. It'll be good enough to be in the collection. Lastly, we do have his tail, which is a bendy tail. The wire in it is very thin, doesn't hold poses very well, but it does bend, so it'll do. It'll be good enough to kind of support him, and that'll be okay. So articulation on this guy, only a 7 out of 10. It's not great. They made some really poor choices with the wrists and the ankles, but it'll definitely get the job done, and that's fine for Splinter, especially if you're just going to hang him up like they have him on the packaging, although I personally wouldn't hang him up like that. I would have him like in the final fight scene, but that's just me. So final verdict on Splinter, I'll give it an 8. It looks really good. Articulation's not great, but it looks really good, and that's the main focus. So overall, we have a really solid Shredder figure, we have a decent Splinter figure, and we have some solid Foot Soldier figures. So I'm going to give this 4-pack an overall rating of 8 out of 10. It'd be a 9, maybe, if we had the right amount of hands for the Foot Soldiers. I think that's a big deal, because that's a choice that was made. I can get past all the little issues with the figures, but that's a choice to just not include the hands. It's a 4-pack, not a 3-pack. We should have the accessories for all 4 figures. That bothers me a lot. But still, an 8 out of 10 is an awesome score, and it's an awesome set, and I think you guys should get it. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't enjoy this video, well, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. And if you like this content, well, you can subscribe. I have new videos out just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that, and in the meantime, keep collecting.